What's up, heroes, and welcome to episode 93 of the Producer Life podcast. Today's guest is Mauro Somm, an up-and-coming techno producer from Buenos Aires, Argentina. He's been signed on Christian Smith's Tronic label and has had support from some of the most creative artists in the industry, including UMEK Gallya, Joyce Mercedes, and Space 92. Mauro has already charted multiple times on Beatport, including his track Uncensored, which reached number 30 in the top 100 global techno peak time driving chart, and his latest success with Deep Control, which reached number 6 on the Hype Peak Time Techno, number 22 on the main techno chart, and number 45 on the global Hype chart. In this episode, we talk about how DJing first helped him develop quickly as a producer. He offers advice on creating a good techno kick. He talks about mixing tips, avoiding rules, and he blows my mind at how quickly he finishes most tracks. But first, cue the intro music. All right, Mauro, welcome to the Producer Life podcast.
Hey, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for the invitation.
You're my first producer from Argentina, so I'm excited about this and want to hear all about your workflow and your production and Venture Records, and I think we've got a lot to talk about.
We definitely do, bro.
Why don't we begin at the beginning? That's always a good place to start. Tell me about how you got your start in electronic music.
Okay, so yeah, I got a really funny story for this. I was a little young kid. My family, my father, my parents, of course, they always listen to these songs from Pet Shop Boys, Michael Jackson, Depeche Mode, Linkin Park, Queen, etc., the big etc. And I got really into the world of music like when I was really young. And then when I was like 7 or 8 years old, we actually have a lot of CDs in my house. And there was this CD from David Guetta. I think it was Blaster. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was definitely Blaster. And I put it on the speakers of my father's speakers. And it was really blown by the sound, by the 4-to-the-floor rhythm, with the sounds, with the vibe that it gave to me. That was the moment that I fell in love with music, with electronic dance music mainly. I just started with dance music, with electro house, dance, with all that stuff. Yeah.
Nice. Did you say David Guetta?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of us, I think, got our introductions through his music, of course, with a lot of his pop crossovers and everything.
Yeah.
Did you have any formal music background, or was it just, hey, I've got this love for this type of music and I'm going to figure out how to do it?
I mean, if you mean that if I were in a band or something like that, no. I just started being a DJ. I mean, I have a computer in my house. I just enjoyed music, so I started to download it. I downloaded then a program to DJ, and yeah, I just started with those things, and then the time has passed, and I have like an experience of DJing for like, I don't know, I think 13 or 14 years. I'm just 23 years old. So yeah, it's a really long time. And then I started with music production because my friends were really pushing me to do it, because they say, hey, you always come to the studio, you always have cool ideas for my productions. Why don't you start producing your own music? Because yeah, I have a really bunch of friends that were DJs and producers as well. And I was the only one that wasn't producing yet. So yeah, then I started this music production journey, and I learned pretty quick, to be honest. So yeah.
Okay. So you were DJing for almost a decade, or more than a decade, before you ever started producing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's interesting. It seems like most of the people I talk with, the majority, I would say, start off producing and then learn to DJ. How do you think doing it the other way around, DJing first, influences your production, or does it?
I mean, it influences because I really aim for the club vibe, to my tracks, to this club structure. And I think that I learned pretty quick because of this, because of my musical knowledge, let's say. I don't know, because when you're a DJ for a really long time, you really develop an ear, and when I started producing and everything, it's like everything was. It wasn't like this extraterrestrial language. It was plain and clear to me. And then, yeah, I think that my quick development is because I DJ'd for a lot of time, or I don't know. I mean, I don't find another reason. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah,
really know these people that were producing for a really long time, and I don't know, and they it's like they couldn't develop themselves that that professionally, let's say. I don't know, I'm not saying that I am really professional, but I got releases on really cool labels that I'm so happy for that. You don't know how.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's really interesting for me. I mean, that thing is so interesting. The
yeah.
time.
Clearly, your experience DJing has helped you to pick it up quickly. Were you a techno DJ before you were a techno producer, or were you kind of more multi-format, or what sort of music were you playing?
Now I was like this EDM DJ. I played big room. Yeah, this big room genre that was developed by Hardwell.
Hmm.
Trance like Armin van Buren, W and W, Will Sparks. I was actually on the bounce genre too. So yeah, it was pretty. I didn't stay in one genre when I make the sets. Oh, and the progressive house, fucking love that genre, man.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So, well, all right. So you started. Your friends are all pushing you, like, "Hey, you got to produce. You got to produce."
Yeah,
So were your friends using FL Studio? I understand that's what you use. Is that how you kind of fell into FL Studio?
exactly. Yeah, because of that, everyone uses FL Studio, and I feel really comfortable with it. I mean, I downloaded Ableton. I learned how to use it and everything. I mean, don't get me wrong, Ableton is amazing. I mean, the tools that it has by default, by factory, is unbelievable. But I don't know, I just have my workflow on FL Studio. I didn't feel that inspired in Ableton, I don't know. I felt so boring. But the processing
It-
stuff, yeah, the processing stuff that you can make in there, it makes it just so easy, so easy. In FL Studio, you have to make just a bunch more clicks to make the same things on Ableton. But I don't know, I just don't feel like it. I just like the FL Studio vibe.
okay. Yeah. Well, it is clearly working for you. I know your most recent release, Deep Control, has charted near the top of Hype Techno. You were top 22 for Global Techno. It's really been killing it on the Beatport charts. Can you kind of talk us through that workflow as you approached maybe Deep Control or one of your other favorite songs?
Yeah, okay. So for Deep Control, I really aim for this groovy techno vibe, with some modern touch, as I always intend to do, with my own signature style. Let's say, I don't always want my tracks to sound the same, so that's what I did with Deep Control. I just developed this mid bassline kind of vibe that sounded really original, and then I started with all the other elements like the main synths, the low end, and all that funny stuff, But first, I always develop the bassline, the kick of the bassline, because that's the main foundation of my tracks. That's the main foundation of my grooves, let's say.
Okay.
So
Is that usually
yeah,
like a 8-bar loop or 16-bar loop for techno?
um, oh, you know what? I never think about it. Yeah, because all these people always say, yeah, no, because I just make an 8-bar loop that sounds incredible, and then I develop from there. I mean, I don't even know if it's an 8-bar, a 16-bar, or 4-bar. I just try to make it fun. I just don't try to
Okay.
make it boring. Let's say, and so let's let's think that, yeah. But let's put it this way: I just make an 8-bar loop that sounds fun and has some variation sometimes.
Okay. All right. And that's when I started producing first, and then I went to DJing, and I think one of the things that I
Oh,
started changing in my production was I would be thinking about, well, how do I make this more DJ friendly? Because I'm thinking, all right,
yeah,
well, where would I mix in? Where would I mix out? And so,
yeah,
I'm like a lot of producers. I try to stick to 8 16-bar loops because that's kind of what you're expecting. If you start going with 21.5-bar loops, it makes it
yeah,
hard to
yeah,
count.
yeah.
Um, which is why I was asking. But all right, so you mentioned before we started talking that you've got a really unique way of processing your kicks. Can you talk about that? And do you do that first before you start integrating the bass line, or is it which comes first, the bass line or the kick? Sounds like a chicken and egg question, but
Yeah, definitely. No, I always try to get my kicks sounding really powerful first, because I would not bear to listen to to a project that with a kick that sounds shitty,
mhm.
because if you think about it, you will be developing a fake project, because you will be developing and making the whole body of the project in a kick that is not the final kick. And it's like you will be approaching your project in a really blind way, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So yeah,
So,
with my kicks, I always try to. It's like I always suck them, but when I suck them, I just don't suck them, and that's all. I mean, I just try to make my kicks sound in the same phase. Let's say that's a really huge, important, and game changer in my kicks and on my music productions, because I just, yeah.
I didn't quite understand that. You try to make your kicks save face.
Yeah, being on the same phase. These phase issues
Oh,
when,
phase. Sorry.
yeah.
Yep. What I was trying to hear there. I've been a member of Producer Dojo, which is Ilgate's sort of bass music production group, and he talks about the face of a song, which is kind of his way of saying the melody or the hook or whatever identifying. This is like the core thing that identifies the song, and so that's what I
Ah,
thought you were saying. But you're talking about phase issues. You're making sure the whole kick is in phase.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everything being on the same place, on the same spot. Every envelope of the kick being on the same place, on the same spot, and that will make your kick that just bump out from your speakers like a bitch. But really,
Okay, so you're talking about like you're layering your kick, multiple different layers, and you're making sure that each of the layers is in phase.
yeah, it's in phase and really covering some frequencies that the previous sample didn't have. So it makes sense to layer it.
Okay, so how are you doing that? Are you just kind of zooming way in and looking to make sure that each of when
Exactly.
the waveform is going up, it's going up on all of them?
Exactly. Just,
Okay,
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah, it takes a lot of time, but it's so worth it when you listen to the before and after. Because don't get me wrong, I mean, you can stack a bunch of kicks and they will sound good, decent, let's say. But when you do this job, I mean, I don't know, the Pandora box just opens and you say, "Oh my god, I was fooled all this time." you know? Yeah,
Okay,
no, no,
and then you're also you mentioned that different parts of the kick are taking up different areas of the frequency spectrum. So you're
yeah.
using EQ to have a low, mid, and high kick plus a click, or how many layers do you typically do, or is there an average?
Let's say that the EQ is just for minor corrections. When you pick a sample, it really has to sound really good at first. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
When you stack it, when you stack the layers and everything. Because if you have to EQ it just to really match the layer, it's because that's not the sample, bro.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I really try to focus. When, because there's always this sample kick that has this mid low kind of frequencies that makes that bump in the kicks that
Mhm.
sometimes all the other kicks don't have it. So you can have this low kick, then this bump sort of kick that helps with a punch, with a mid low punch, and then the top kick if it's needed. If it's not needed, fuck it, you don't need it, because yeah, it's really track dependent, you know.
Okay. So you talked about picking the right sample. How do you have a particular way of organizing your sample library, or do you have a favorite place that you go, like Splice or Loop Cloud, or where are you getting a lot of your samples from?
No, just from sample packs, really cool sample packs. I don't know, Sennheiser. Oh my god, I don't remember the name of the other ones, but this Riemann collection, this Riemann Techno collection, those kicks sound so good naturally. You don't even have to stack it. Sometimes it's really crazy. Those samples are so good. And one other thing that I wanted to say about the kicks is I mean, your kicks just have to kick. I mean, let's put it this way: some people on internet, they always say that you have to tune your kick to the track. The kick is the main key of the track, blah blah blah. I mean, sort of, that's sort of true and sort of not, because the kick just have to kick, you know. The kick just have to do that thing, and that's all. You know what I mean? Because if you have a really long ass kick that has this tone, I don't know, G, for example,
Hmm.
and then you want to make a bass, you can make the side chain, you can make all that funny stuff to make it sound groovier and make it sound in place and to not clash with the kick. But if you have this long ass tail kick with that really bassy sound, your track will sound horrible and will sound amateur. And it's not an opinion, that's a fact, because it will kill all the lows on your track. And in the club, your track will sound like all your low end will sound like that, you know? So
Hmm.
yeah, the kick just have to, and then let the bass line, the subline do their job, you know?
So you're talking you like punchier kicks. Do you ever? I'm trying to think
Hmm.
about the tracks I listened to that you've done. Do you ever do the sort of grungy techno rumble kicks? Because that frequently gives it a pretty long tail.
Yes, that's a really nice question. I mean, I have rumbly techno tracks that those are ones of my first production actually. What I didn't care that much about the low end, because I mean, kick and rumble was the thing in the past year, let's say. So
Yep.
yeah, but I just try to develop this style what I have this rumble feeling in the 0 hertz to the 60 hertz, keep the rumble feeling in there, and then supply it with a baseline from the 60 or 100 hertz to 500 hertz, and that really keeps the track moving a lot. I mean, and it feels so full to my ears, in my opinion. It sounds just so good. And the kick just, as I said, a short kick that is punchy, because I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, really need these sub frequencies on your kick, but you don't need that really big kick that say that boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
You're not
but
going
yeah,
for an 808 sound.
no, no, definitely not. No,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, this rumbly techno. Don't get me wrong, it's really good. You just, if you put it on the certain frequencies that makes the sound. I mean, you can have a really clean track with a rumble kick. For example, these Julian Jewel tracks with that big rumble, and it sounds so clean, you know. So yeah, it's like placing the rumble on the same, but on the specific frequencies that makes it sound so good and present.
Okay. So is that kind of how Deep Control started with just a kick?
Actually, yeah, yeah. Deep Control started with a kick and then the bass line, the whole bass line vibe. But Deep Control don't have a rumble. No, 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 it doesn't. No, no, no. It don't have a rumble.
So how did you, was the bass line something are you doing mouse and keyboard, or are you doing, how are you writing your bass line?
That one was mouse and keyboard, but lately I'm using this synthesizer. That is my favorite one so far. I'm so in love with it. It's the Yuhi Repro One. I think it was the one. Let me check. I'm opening FL Studio right now.
Okay.
Because it's the Repro One and Repro Five. I just want to make sure I get the real name, because this synthesizer has this sequencer on it that is so good and powerful, and the sounds so clean and so deep, like a really analog synthesizer. And yes,
Hmm.
it is the Yuhi Reaper one. No,
Y-
the presets are so good, Brian. You don't know.
spell that for me. Yohi,
Yuhi,
Yohe.
yeah. Yuhi, Repro one.
Okay, I will. I've got it pulled out here. I will have to check that out. Okay, so good analog sound. You use that for a lot of your mid basses or bass lines in general.
What? Sorry, excuse me. I just got distracted.
Oh, no problem. So you're using Repro One for a lot of your synth bass lines.
Yeah, exactly. The bass lines and the sublines. I really always separate them. I don't make the baseline get the sub frequencies. I just make dedicated things. Let's say I really separate them always.
Okay, are they frequently playing? I know it's hard to characterize across songs, but are they frequently playing the same notes, or do you have them playing sort of? Is the sub bass maybe something simpler and the mid bass more syncopated, or are you just taking the same notes and playing them at different frequencies with different instruments?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. That's a really good question, because it sometimes get complicated when you want to make a rhythm for the subline and a rhythm for the bassline, because they're almost basically on the same frequency spot, but they are not at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but yes, you can have a really rolling bassline that makes dugu, 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 and then a subline that makes ooh, 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 the basically pumping subline. But I don't know if that will sound really good. It really depends on the track. It's track dependent. You can have a syncopated subline with uh, normal baseline. So it's really track dependent. You can have it. It will sound good. It will maybe sound good on one track, but it will sound horrible on the other track. It's yeah, that's what the music has. It's you have a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I love about music production and all the.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just throw in random plugins, and one of the things that Ableton introduced in Ableton Live 9 is, or 11, you can click randomize on just about everything. And so sometimes it's fun to just mash randomize a couple of times and see what sort of sounds come out of it. Um,
Yeah.
so, uh, what about what would you say are the other? You've got your kick and your bass. What are the other critical elements for a techno track?
The sub line, definitely. The sub is the main thing on your techno track. It's the main thing. You have to perfection it first. All the other things doesn't matter because they are easy, but the subline is, I don't know, it's all your bones on your body. That's the subline. Then the other things, okay, all right. I mean, they can you can work with them, sort it out, but and you can hear them pretty clear. But the subline, boy.
Okay. And so if you're using a punchy kick and you're trying to keep your subs out of the way of your kick because you're not using a lot of sidechain compression, so you've basically got three
No,
quarter notes that you
yeah,
can write your subline in. Are you writing in 16th notes frequently, or I mean, how many notes are you trying to cram into that little that little space?
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, since we are on the four to the floor rhythm and music and EDM music, you really need that sidechain effect. I mean, I use it. I use the Alpha tool for sidechaining. I just don't pay that much attention on sidechaining because I really make a really good relationship with the sub and the kick at first, removing all those unnecessary long ass tails from the kick with LFO tool as well, because you can shape all your sounds in there too. I mean, you can use it for a really for a lot of things. LFO tool is a really powerful tool, man.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Sam Smith talked about LFO tool. Also, I use that a lot. So I guess that's a good question. Speaking of LFO tool, are there other plugins that you find yourself reaching for regularly in your techno production?
Oh yeah, the BookTech, these waves BookTech EQP1A.
I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's BookTech EQP1A. It's
Okay.
this it's this Jack Joseph Brick collection of waves. It's so good, and then some tape emulations from waves as well, like the Abbey Road vinyl stereo, the G37 stereo, the Kramer tape, um, and I really love to make. I mean, if we are keep talking about sidechain, the external sidechain is, I mean, when you're at one level when you know about sidechain, but you're on a really completely different level when you reach out to this external sidechain thing. It's so beautiful when you can when you compress, when you send a sound, well, when you sidechain a sound to another sound, and then you sidechain those frequencies just to don't make the sound on the same frequencies that clash at the same frequencies and make your sound and make your track sound poor, let's say. I mean, that's a really new level.
Okay, you're using sidechain to have different frequencies, whatever you want to stand out, ducking other elements within the track.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
definitely a really, yeah, that's a gold standard thing to do.
Yeah. Is there something that you're using in FL Studio stock that you use for that, or do you have a plugin that you like to use to duck frequency? Like if you had a vocal, not having that conflict with pianos or strings. Not that you have a lot of those in techno, but
Yeah.
what are you using to duck?
Yeah, to duck with vocals, I use the Distract Spacer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's really well known.
Yep. A friend of mine, Bathymetrics in the producer dojo, turned me on to that
Yeah.
some years ago, and I really like it.
Yeah, it's so good and so easy, you know. I love
Yep.
it so much. And then
Yeah.
with the specific frequencies, when you can really deal with the Q band, with the release, with attack, and everything, and make it really, really peaky. I use the F6 RTA stereo by Waves.
Okay.
It's so good. I mean, because you can work with the threshold, with the range, with the Q factor, with the attack and release of this sidechain. Is I mean, you can be so precise with it. So it's so good. I use it on all of my projects. I really use it to. I mean, I make this sidechain with my kick. If I want my kick to really stand out of the on the mix, I don't just sidechain it with the LFO. Let's say that I sidechain it externally with this F6 RTA from Waves. It's so good. It's so good. You just attenuate the main frequencies of the kick. You know, when it's more present on
Mm-hmm.
certain frequencies. So yeah, you sidechain it with all your high elements, like I don't know, all your cymbals, your hi hats, your clap, your whatever you have on all your track body. Let's say.
Okay, so everything is getting sidechained to that kick, so you get some of
Yeah,
that
even the
sort of
synths. Yeah,
even the sense. Okay, vocals too.
that's a good question. Probably vocals too. I didn't feel the need to do it actually.
Okay, I was just curious, but that is
Yeah,
interesting. So you're not just side chaining like your mid frequencies. You're doing everything.
yeah, because that's the way you can make your kick really stand out way more. Because you can make your kick really stand out by volume, but but making space frequency speaking for the kick is really a top notch way to do it. It sounds just more clear, more present. I don't know. It just sounds so good.
Okay, and then are you? So those are sort of your biggest elements. You said the other stuff is kind of easy to do, the hats and the other elements. Do you mix and master everything yourself, or do you send it out?
Yes, I always try to do everything myself. If I would have more money, I would send it to a really professional mix engineer, master engineer. But you know that those ones really charge a lot of money. So yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, I got you. I did the Dead Mouse master class a while back, and it was interesting because Joel talked about wanting to mix and master all his tracks as well. And I don't know if he still does, or if certainly he's got enough money at this point he could hire somebody to do it for him. But he talked about wanting to do it from an artistic standpoint because then more of that track sound is his. It is
Yeah,
not only the sound choices that he made and the EQ choices that he made, but it's also this is the element I wanted to emphasize at this point in this track. And so,
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree
yeah.
more, man. It's just Joel with his genius mind. Yes, I mean definitely. When I mix my tracks, I always try to make this star of the game, like this Messi, Lionel Messi of the team.
Mm-hmm.
I really try to find well. Let's put it this way: we have the whole project, right? I mean, we have the track with the synthesizers and everything, and then you say, okay, what is the main element that really stands out from all the other elements, and I say, okay, so this synth that I will make this synth sound really powerful, really big, really stereo, really loud, and will make it stand out from the others. And that's where you get, let's say, your personal touch, because I really try to make some elements sound really, really huge and stand out way more than other elements. And that's a really, let's say, a signature or a personal artistic way to do it, like Joel said. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And
Yeah.
I mean, man, did you see Joel's studio? I mean, that man can mix everything from there, man.
Yeah.
It's so
He's got
sick.
an amazing setup. Yeah. Yep, he does. In fact, he's got. I was listening to some other interview, and he's got because he lives out in this remote part of the country. He's even got his own like
Wi-Fi.
internet satellite
Yeah,
downlink
yeah,
because
yeah,
he needs. So pretty
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a really funny story for that, because he lost a Diablo account because of that. He was playing, I don't know if he was fighting with a boss, and then the internet connection got lost, and then he lost his character forever. I mean, when you die in that game, you lost your character. He lost his character because of internet. I mean,
Wow, I assumed it was because of the music production or live stream, but it was. I mean, I guess that makes sense. He's big into gaming.
yeah. I mean, that's the story that I got. Maybe I'm wrong, but I really think that it was because of that. But no, it's so crazy.
Yeah, that would not surprise me. So, okay, so talk to me a little bit about how you mix your techno tracks. Are you putting your kicks at -6 decibels, or do you have a average number that you start at? I assume you're mixing everything around your kick since that's your core element.
Yeah, let's say so that I really start with my kick at 9 decibels. It's like I don't follow any rules. Let's say I don't have any rules. I don't put any rules myself, because I, in my opinion, I think that will limit my creativity. Let's say
Uh-huh.
so. I just sometimes start a project with a maximum of 6 dB. I mean, the whole track will sound at 6 dB, and sometimes my whole track will sound at 3 dB or 2 dB, or sometimes 0 dB, like a master. I mean, it doesn't matter that much, because you can always lower the volume on the master or the mix bus, and it will be the same. It's actually the same. I would always recommend everyone to mix on really low volume, of course. But about this mixing thing, I always compare my tracks to other tracks. But I used to compare my tracks to other tracks to check the mix and how my track sounds compared to the other ones. So yeah, just to get the balancing the levels really right, and make your track really sound professional, let's say. But I don't know, I just developed this sort of ear, let's say, and I can happily say that I can mix my tracks without hearing any other songs or whatever. I mean, it's like I'm just so picky, and
Hmm.
I have a flaw on music production that I'm a perfectionist, let's say, and you don't have to be a perfectionist with your music. So yeah, I'm a sucker with that, but whatever, man, it really works out for me.
It does. So being a perfectionist and doing all your own mixing and mastering, how long does it typically take you to finish a track?
Oh, you know what? I think that the last one actually took me 14 hours.
What?
Yeah,
14 hours start to finish. That's it?
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
13 or 11, sometimes 9 hours. Yeah, I finished the track in 9 hours too. Yeah.
All right. You just kind of blew my mind because, I have a track that I'm working on that I really like that I started 2 days ago, and I've probably put in 10 or 12 hours, and it's got a good arrangement. It's starting to sound good, but I'm pretty sure it's going to take me another week or two to finish it. So are you
Oh.
starting off with a template and certain sounds that you use in most of your tracks, or how are you doing that so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to repeat the sounds that I already used, because sometimes, but no, sometimes not always. When you want to mix that same track on the same set at the same time, the samples will clash and your track will sound just shit. If you use the same kick and same hi hat, not if you use the same subline, because those will never sound at the same time in the club. But um just let me think about it. I mean, I don't know. I just start with with a good sounding kick that, I don't know, that will really last like an hour, and then another hour, or sometimes 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It really depends on really get a really good sounding bass line. And when I have those foundations sounding really professional, really top notch, I just start with all the other elements, and that's all.
Hmm. Okay. And are you kind of adding them all to that 8 bar loop and then just kind of spreading it out and adding some automation to keep it interesting? And that's your
Yeah.
track?
Yeah, exactly. I
Okay.
just start with a 8 bar, and then sometimes I extend it to 16 bar, making variations. As I told you, it's like I don't even think about the parts. Just think about the whole track thing. Let's say
Hmm.
about the big picture of the track. Um,
Okay.
I always start. Sometimes I start with a build up, or sometimes I just start with the drop. But sometimes no, I almost always start with a drop without a build up or anything, and then I just start build up, but start doing everything else. I mean, when you have the drop, you already have the intro and the outro. I mean, it's automatically it, because it's the in and the out. It's sometimes the drop, but with a lot of less elements on it. And yeah, the build up is one of the synths that I use, that I really want to make my build ups really hypey. So I use some delays with this main synth, repeating itself and making some uplifters. I mean, yeah, it just builds by itself. So I sometimes, I don't know, I just found myself producing the song, and I'm not here. I'm really like into the song. But if you talk to me, if I'm producing and you talk to me, I wouldn't give a fuck, or I will say, "Hey, get the fuck out of here," because I'm really working on it. I'm so focused on it. I really get into it. So yeah,
You're
but
in the
that's
zone.
yeah, yeah. I'm in my zone, and but yeah, that's the best state that I can be, because sometimes I start to think, I start but my own persona try to, or say, hey, I don't know if this sound good or whatever, and that's when you are making a mistake. You just don't have to think, you have to let it flow, because everything just come from above, let's say, and you have to really let it flow.
Yeah. I had a guest, or maybe it was something I read a while back about how the most successful musicians are the ones that can kind of maximize the amount of time they spend in that flow state. And it sounds like maybe that has a lot to do with how quickly you're producing stuff, is that you're staying in that flow state for a long period of time, and it just, you know,
Yeah, maybe 4 or 5 hours a day. Yeah.
okay. That's awesome. That is fantastic. That makes some sense. The production is only part of what you do. I understand you're also a co-owner of a record label.
Yes, Venture Records is one of the projects that my really close friends Kevin Van Recken started here in Buenos Aires, and yeah, he invited me to be part of it. We got a really nice dinner, talked about this whole thing, how we plan to execute it. Yes, we started this project, if I don't remember well, in 2019. And yeah, then we started this radio show where I interviewed the DJs and producers that we invited to the program, where I mastered the tracks, and then all his job is to, well, sometimes seek for new producers. For he's with I mean, he's all with the technical stuff, with Proton and all those things. We just signed our label to Proton, so in
Proton is
2000
your distributor, right?
will be now our distributor, because we were working with Labelworks before them. But
Okay.
now in just January 2022, we'll start working with Proton, that has a really really nice system of working. And yeah, we will start releasing again on 2022. I will try to start with this venture podcast series again. Yeah, the future for Venture Records is really good. I The thing is that, in my opinion, I just started to work on a label way too soon, because I really want to release my songs on really top notch labels that I really try to reach. Um, I have a lot of goals, let's say, that I have to fulfill yet, and then I will start to focus on that label and release all my songs in there, just to attract people, because
Okay.
if yeah, because I think that if you have I don't know, a lot of tracks released on really top notch labels, and your tracks are really good, that will attract people to sign on your label. I That's how I think about it. I don't know if it makes sense at all.
No, that does make sense. So you would kind of be the sort of you would draw the attention to your label. But so why did you decide to launch a label so early in your career? I mean, you've been producing for about 2 years, and you've had
Hmm.
pretty good success on Beatport. But why a record label now? Why not wait till you're touring internationally and tearing up the clubs?
It's because it's like having this label did. I mean, it adds up. It just don't rest on my career. I don't know if it makes sense. Having it, it's something good. Not having it, um, let's put it this way. I have this record label that I co-own. I'm not the main owner. Let's say the main owner is Kevin. Um, it's good to have it there. It's like a really good friend. Let's say that you have a lot of friends. Let's put it this way. There
Okay.
is always this friend that you say, "Hey, it's really good to have it." But if you don't have it, it's like you don't have another friend. Let's say. I don't know if it makes sense at all.
I don't know. Are you saying, like, from the perspective of maybe financially, that gives you another avenue where you've got a potential income stream through the record label? Or is this more, um, I don't know, I would think being a record label owner also may add some credibility to you as a musician, that you're really serious about it when you talk to promoters. Hey, I'm not only a DJ and producer, I also own a record label. That sort of would say to me that, hey, this guy's really serious about the music business.
Let's say that I put that focus on my releases. About having a label, it's like having a record label does, I mean, don't detract to my career. It really adds to it. So having it's something that will add to my career. Let's say I'm mainly not focusing 100% on this label. because I'm really focusing 100% on my personal on my personal product, on Mauro Somm, let's say. I'm not saying that I'm not putting attention to my label, because I really do, and all the earnings that we earn from the label, that it's not a lot, to be honest, and we reinvert it into the label.
Okay, so
So
it's you've started it. It's good to have, and you plan to build it over time.
yeah, exactly. Maybe in
Okay.
2022 I will focus a lot more on this label. But yeah, it's because I produce track really fast, but when I want to, when when it's born naturally, I don't try to force it. So making tracks is not that easy for me, let's say, because I really need um I really need to crave for produce a track. You know what I mean? It's like, I know I don't sit there in the studio and they say, "Hey, you have to produce a track because of this, because of that." I say, "No, no. I mean, I produce a track because I want to." Let's say,
Yeah.
and it's how I feel. Let's say,
Yeah. I get frustrated if I can't get into the studio regularly and work on
yeah,
music. That's my
yeah, no,
happy place.
yeah. I mean, that's the other thing of being an artist or a DJ producer. The downwards and upwards. I mean, it's so complicated, the all this mental health thing, these all these, and also all these. Oh, how can I say it in English? You can help me, bro.
Your English is far better than my Spanish.
Oh fuck, no, I don't
The-
remember the word actually.
okay, trying to manage the mental health aspect of being a producer.
Yeah, because I mean, you can feel depressed really quick, and you can feel happy really quick as well. So it's a really ambiguous and complicated world, this whole world, because you can sometimes have the support of your family, of your friends, and everything, but yeah, I mean, it's not enough. I mean, uh, uh, at least for me, I can sometimes feel really proud, really happy, and the next day I will maybe feel like shit because I couldn't do something productive with music. I don't know if it happens to you being a producer.
Yeah, I think every creative type goes through dry spells where um, nothing is sounding quite right, and sometimes you don't even feel like getting into the studio. You know, yeah, I think everybody goes through that, Mauro.
Yeah, and you really feel like shit, because yeah, I mean, it's not cool. It's just not cool. But of course, it's mm, I I'm happy to say that I have more happy moments than sad moments. Let's say. So yeah, I mean, I really love this whole journey.
Yeah, Sam. Sam Wolf, who I interviewed a couple of weeks back, by the time this podcast comes out, he said something interesting. He's got a full time job, and he commented about how he likes not feeling like he has to make music. If his income was dependent on making music, it would take some of the joy out of it for him. As opposed to right now, it's just he loves doing it, but he doesn't have to do it in order to pay his bills.
Yeah, let's say
And
that he,
so
he don't rely on it. Yeah.
yeah, so his relationship with his music is a little different. He's not dependent on it, and it's just something that he is truly passionate about, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I actually couldn't agree more. Yeah.
so let's talk for just a minute. Obviously you've had some big success on Beatport. What do you do once you finish a track? I guess you start reaching out to labels. Talk to me about the release process that you use for your tracks.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. And it really depends on the style that I want to reach to my track. I mean, when I start a project, I say, okay, to which label will this track work? And then I really build up everything around it. Um, if I make a really groovy, modern sounded track, I will say, hey, okay, this track will maybe work for Octopus. And then sometimes I have friends, or sometimes I will send a message to the label on Instagram. They will sometimes answer. They will almost always not answer. So yeah, you gotta look for it, and that's where the networkings really help, because you maybe have friends that already released on that label, and you ask them, hey, do you have the demo email to this label? And they say yes bro, or no bro, I mean, sometimes, yeah, they will be cool or not cool enough. So yeah, or you can really reach out to these A&Rs people that are specifically working on that label, and then you reach out to them. So yeah, it's like always it's networking, it's networking. Or I think that there's a page called Labels Database or something like that, where you can really find the emails of some labels. Some emails, or almost every email of that page, is really outdated.
Okay. So is that true with most of your tracks where you've got a target label in mind before you even start producing the track, or is that something that comes later in the process after you kind of I know with my own tracks, sometimes I'll have a sense of, all right, I want to make kind of a housey track, but I really don't have any idea what it's going to sound like until I get that first 8-bar loop done. It kind of just takes on a life of its own.
Yeah.
Or are you producing with a specific label in mind?
It's like a mixture of both. I have these labels in my mind. Let's say, I don't know, Respect, Octopus, Terminal. Yeah, those three labels on mind. And then I start producing a track, and then I think, okay, this track could work for this one, or this one, or this one. I don't know. Let's say that when I have the 50% of my track, then I start thinking, okay, to what direction do I have to aim it to reach to this label?
Okay, that makes sense. I guess last couple of questions. Where, you've talked about the sort of long-term emphasis you're going to put into venture records, and obviously you've got a lot of plans for your music. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh wow, that cliche question, I always hated it.
Oh, all right. Well, all right. We can go shorter term. We can go. What's your plan for
Oh
next year,
god.
if you want?
It's because I don't know. I sort of God, I don't know, man. I don't know what I will be on 10 years, but I really hope to be like on a really huge festival and have my own fucking house for once in my life.
Okay.
But no, yeah. I mean, in the next year coming, I mean, this 2022, I'm really aiming and seeing myself on Terminal. I don't know why. I'm just seeing myself there.
Okay. So
Um,
that's your big reach label.
yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's Terminal, bro.
Okay.
and
So
and yeah, I know, and I'm actually having this summer tour for 2022 as well, and I really want to travel to really cool and beautiful countries in the world. Um, yeah, man, I'm really aiming
which
for that.
countries are you planning the tour, and how are you planning that tour?
I have a manager called Aldo Fontana. Shout out to him. He's a really beautiful person. He's arranging some of my possible tours. He's sending the emails and everything. It's like, I mean, it's a mixture of his contacts and my contacts, because when you network with a lot of people in the scene, you then end up talking with people that has contacts, that is living in other countries, and that can make you play on gigs in there. So it's always really really good to talk with a lot of people. I have a friend in Uruguay called Hector Cardenas. He's actually a techno DJ producer as well. His tracks are fucking sick. You should really check it out. I mean, you probably know some of his tracks because he has a really cool release on Renaissance, where he has these tracks called Bass and Passion that are really good, and it got a lot of support actually. He's opening a club on Uruguay and Montevideo.
Hmm.
Yeah, then Bruce Salzer, I think that you know him. He's from Panama, and he's opening a production events kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, and then you can have your other buddies on other countries that may work for event producers as well or anything. But yeah, I mean, the tour will be on, if everything ends up well and I can arrange everything. I really hope so. It will start on Buenos Aires to Uruguay to Chile to Mexico to Panama, maybe United States, maybe Colombia. So yeah, I mean, we are really working on that, but it really takes time, you know.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. Are you picking these countries based on where you have contacts, or are you like
Yeah,
looking at your Spotify dashboard and seeing where you've got a lot of listeners, or how are you picking the countries?
you know what? I don't. I personally, I know I'm going to make you a question myself. I think because I don't know if the Spotify dashboard countries will really help you to get played or get a contacts on some other countries. I actually don't know if that could work, but if that works, I'm really excited about it.
I have heard other artists recommend, and you know, you'd have to have more streams than I have, but you know, being
Not
able
so
to
many.
go to promoters and say, hey, I've got, you know, 10,000 monthly streams in your city, that adds some weight to, hey, I want to come, and I'm likely to have some people show up. Because if you're using something like I think it's Songkick, for example, that's what's integrated with Spotify, it will notify your listeners if you have a event coming up in their area.
Really?
So
Wow.
if you've got a lot of people on Spotify, Songkick is a good way to reach out to them because you can publish your upcoming tour there.
Soundkick. Okay. I mean, that
Songkick.
sounds really interesting, actually.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like I've used both Songkick and Bands in Town. Bands in Town is another platform that allows you to publish tour dates, and it integrates well with WordPress sites and Facebook pages. Songkick, unfortunately, is the only one that I'm aware of that integrates with Spotify.
Hmm.
So again, it kind of depends on where you think your listeners are. But I know you've got 10,000 plus monthly listeners on Spotify, so you know, keeping an eye on your Spotify dashboard and then maybe looking at using Songkick might be helpful.
Okay. That, yeah. I mean, that's pretty sick. That's really good to know. And about, thank you for the data, actually. And for your question, I mean, yes, it sometimes always depend on the context because let's put it this way: if you don't have an events producer right there that you know of, or if you have a friend that may have friends that work on this event producer events, I mean, I don't know, I'm not sure if you can reach out or get a gig in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems like people get gigs in all sorts of interesting ways. I've, you know, Sam is on my mind because he was my last interview. You know,
Yeah,
he has people to reach out to him on Instagram because he's very responsive and active on Instagram.
yeah.
I've had other people that get gigs from. I mean, some of the producers that I've had on here don't gig, and they make all their money from, you know, their Patreon account, and you know, it's just you got to find your way. So
Yes, it's exactly like that. I mean, you gotta find your way, you gotta make your own way sometimes.
yeah, lot of different ways you can make money in the music business. None of them are particularly easy, but okay.
That's the thing. It's not easy, man. It's not for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Oh.
definitely a labor of love. So that's awesome. Good luck with the tour this summer. And then what about releases? Have you got some upcoming releases planned?
Yes, I actually have a mini album, let's say, or 5 tracks, 6 tracks EP on a release this coming next year. That will be really huge. I mean, my best tracks are in there. I mean, Tip Control is nothing compared to these really coming tracks that I'm so happy to release on there. I mean, they work just so good. They are a really amazing persons. I mean, shout out to Mario, to Ramsey, and to Audiomatics as well. I mean, they are all so beautiful souls, and they really put a lot of effort and work on it. Um, yeah.
So a lot of collaborations on that
No,
EP
no,
or
no.
mini
All,
album.
all original mix. Original mixes. Just Mauro
Oh,
Somm, let's say. No, no collaborations. Yeah, I'm actually surprised as well because of that. Oh, I just have one collaboration, let's say, or a featuring what I wrote the lyrics of a song, and then I have a really cool singer singing, well, the lyrics that I wrote and the way I wanted her to sing it. I mean, I'm really perfectionist, I'm so I'm so sick with that, but yeah. And she performed it the way I have it on my mind, and it just blew my mind. It's so good.
Okay, so that's one of the tracks that's coming out on this EP.
Yeah, it's EP. I said mini album because it's a 5 or 6 track EP. So yeah, I mean, we can consider it a mini album.
So are you timing that release to come out like right before the tour so you can promote it on the tour?
I actually don't have the release date yet. I mean, Unreleased have to put it. I mean, I cannot decide for the label, unfortunately. These are really
okay.
top-notch labels that they say they want to release the track when they want, or when they have the free schedule to do it. It's a really
Got it.
it's really difficult.
Yeah, got it. I've heard some complaints from other artists about that you send in a great song and then we can get to it in about 8 months.
Yeah, true story, bro.
Yep.
No,
all
but
right.
I actually, I mean, I got released Deep Control 2 months. Yeah, no, even 1 month. Yeah, I mean,
that's not bad at all.
Yeah, no. They got it released pretty quick, actually.
Okay, and what label was that?
Unreleased.
Okay. Well, Mauro, thank you so much for your time. This has been a great conversation, and I love all of the detailed technical knowledge that you shared, and sounds like a really exciting tour this summer, and sounds like you've got some great things going on down there.
Yeah, I will have this mini tour, let's say, on Mar del Plata and then Montevideo. Those are the gigs that are confirmed for 2022. It will be this January 6th on Mar del Plata, this January 22 on Montevideo, on this club of my friend Hector Cardenas. If you have time, check him out. He's so cool. He's a really amazing producer, an amazing person as well. And then I have a second gig on Mar del Plata as well on January 27. So yeah, and then February is full of surprises.
Wow, that's great. You're already got your January booked up. Terrific. Well,
yeah, man.
I wish you good luck next year, and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks to you. Shout out to everyone that is listening to this interview. I love you so much. And thanks to you, Brian, for the invitation, man. And shout out to Sam Wolf too. So yeah.
My pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll have links to Mauro's music and the plugins he mentioned over on the show notes page. Just visit producerlifepodcast.com and look for episode 93. While you're poking around on the website, it would be awesome if you shared this or any other episode on your social media. Don't forget to tag me. You can find me almost anywhere at House Ninja Music, one word. Until next time, this is the House Ninja reminding you to be somebody's hero today.